The first light of a Parisian morning began to bleed through the floor-to-ceiling glass, turning the room a soft, hazy gold. The Eiffel Tower, now just a silhouette against the brightening sky, stood as a silent witness to the stillness inside the suite. Taeyoung stirred, the deep, dreamless sleep finally losing its grip. As consciousness returned, she felt the heavy, comforting weight of Jungkook's arm draped firmly across her waist. She remembered their plan, a full day of exploring the city, the museums, and the streets she had only ever dreamed of. She felt a flicker of excitement, shifting her body to slide out from under his hold. However, the moment she moved, Jungkook's grip tightened instantly. He didn't let her go. Instead, he pulled her back, pinning her firmly against the mattress as he rolled onto his side to face her. His eyes were still heavy with sleep, but they were filled with a soft, playful demand that caught her off guard. "Jungkook, where do you think you're going so early?" His voice was a low, raspy murmur vibrating through the quiet room. He didn't look like the man who was waiting to enact a punishment. He looked like a man who simply wanted to start his day with her. He nudged his face closer to hers, his nose brushing against her cheek. "Jungkook, give me my morning kiss, baby." Taeyoung felt her face heat up instantly. Even after everything they had been through, his directness still made her shy. She looked down, her long lashes fluttering against her cheeks as she tried to pull away slightly, a bashful smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. She knew what was coming later, but in this golden, quiet morning light, the tension felt suspended, replaced by an easy, domestic rhythm. Jungkook chuckled, seeing her blush. He reached up, his fingers gently cupping her jaw and tilting her face toward him, not letting her look away. "Jungkook, don't be shy, Tae. We have a whole day of Paris ahead of us. Start it right for me." His thumb traced her lower lip, his gaze dropping to her mouth with a soft, hungry focus. Taeyoung's heart hammered against her ribs. She gave in, leaning forward slowly, her hands coming up to rest on his shoulders. She pressed a soft, hesitant kiss to his lips, a gesture of affection that felt entirely genuine. Jungkook caught her lower lip gently between his own, holding the kiss for a heartbeat longer before pulling back just an inch, his eyes dark and satisfied. "Jungkook, better." He finally released her, sitting up and stretching his arms above his head, the movement shifting the sheets. He looked at her, his expression shifting back to that knowing, possessive gleam, a silent reminder that the day was theirs, but the rules remained his. "Jungkook, get dressed, sweetheart. The city is waiting for us." Taeyoung stepped out of the dressing room, the soft fabric of her maroon, ankle-length silk skirt swishing rhythmically against her calves. She had paired it with a crisp, beige button-down shirt tucked in neatly at the waist, to emphasize her silhouette and finish the look with a delicate, minimalist goat indent that caught the morning light. A classic leather watch sat elegantly on her wrist, and she slung a structured handbag over her shoulder. Finally, she slipped into a pair of high-heeled sandals that added a graceful arch to her stance, making her feel both poised and ready for the Parisian streets. As she entered the main suite, she found Jungkook already waiting by the window. He was the definition of old money elegance. He wore a cream-colored cashmere turtleneck paired with a perfectly tailored, unlined navy blazer that draped effortlessly over his shoulders. His trousers were charcoal gray, wool cut to a precise, tapered length, and his feet were encased in polished, dark brown leather loafers. He wore no flashy accessories, just a vintage-style gold timepiece that hinted at untalted comfort that felt timeless. Expensive comfort. Then he turned. The entire room seemed to go still. He didn't just look at her. He studied her as if she were a masterpiece. He was seeing for the first time the way the maroon silk caught the light, the graceful way she carried herself and the soft, shy smile she offered. It was almost overwhelming. Jungkook's breath hitched, and for a long, silent moment, he couldn't tear his eyes away. He let out a low, appreciative whistle, his traveling slowly from her heels up to her face, his expression softening into one of raw, unfiltered admiration. Jungkook, damn, T8. He walked toward her, his movements slow and deliberate. He stopped just inches away, his hands reaching out to gently adjust the collar of her beige shirt, his thumbs grazing the sensitive skin of her neck. Jungkook, I knew you were beautiful, but this? You're going to stop traffic in Paris today. I'm not sure I want to let you out of my sight. He leaned down, pressing a lingering, appreciative kiss to her forehead, before resting his hand firmly on her waist, pulling her into his side. Jungkook, you look absolutely stunning, sweetheart. Let's go show this city what it's been missing. The heavy oak doors of the hotel suite clicked shut behind them, sealing away the sanctuary where they had spent the morning. As they stepped out into the bustling streets of Paris, the city felt vibrant and alive, a sharp contrast to the intimate quiet of their room. Jungkook's hand remained a constant, grounding presence at the small of attire, drawing subtle, appreciative glances from passers-by. Beside him, Taeyoung felt a sudden wave of confidence. The way his hand gripped her waist served as a silent claim, a reminder that while she was out in the world, she was still under his protection. They strolled down the wide, tree-lined boulevards, the morning sun filtering through the leaves to cast dappled patterns on the sidewalk. Taeyoung was captivated by everything: the architecture, the faint scent of fresh pastries drifting from a nearby boulangerie, and the elegant, rhythmic flow of the Parisian crowds. Every few steps, Jungkook would pause to point out something only he seemed to notice: a hidden courtyard tucked behind a massive iron gate, or a particular detail in the facade of a century-old building. He spoke with the city's noise. He was pacing himself, watching her reactions as much as the path ahead. There was a deliberate quality to his movements, as if he were savoring the sight of her in the golden light. Jungkook tilted his head, his gaze softening as he looked down at her. He pulled her slightly closer, guiding her away from the edge of the curb and toward the center of the sidewalk. Jungkook, I told you it was special, but I think the city is just putting on a show for you today, Tite. He stopped briefly, his thumb tracing a slow, rhythmic circle against her back. Jungkook, are you tired yet? We have a long day, but if you need to slow down, just say the word. I'm not in any rush. Taeyoung shook her head, a bright, genuine smile gracing her lips. She felt lighter than she had in weeks, the weight of their past conflicts suspended in the clear, crisp air. Taeyoung, I'm not tired at all. I want to see everything. Jungkook chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners with genuine fondness. He slipped his hand down with hers, his grip firm and warm. Jungkook, then let's go. Then let's go. There's a terrace just around the corner that serves the best coffee in the city. We'll start there and then we'll see where the day takes us. They continued their walk, two figures moving in perfect rhythm, heading deeper into the heart of a city that promised them a clean slate. For now, the past, the arguments, the accusations, and the looming threat of the punishment felt like a world away, hidden behind the golden glow of the morning. The charm of the morning had gradually given way to the grueling reality of a full day on their feet. While Jungkook had originally planned for the private limousine to shadow them, Taeyoung had insisted on experiencing the city like a local, leading them to board one of the iconic Parisian buses. They had spent hours weaving through the city, hopscotching from the Louvre to the quiet, hidden gardens of the Lamar district. But as the sun began to dip, painting the sky in bruised shades of violet and orange, the toll of the day finally set in. Taeyoung's high heels, which had felt elegant and poised at sunrise, now felt like instruments of torture. Every step on the uneven cobblestones sent a sharp, stinging pain arching through her feet and up her calves. She tried to hide it, keeping her stride steady, but a slight, involuntary limp gave her away as they turned onto a quiet side street leading back toward the hotel. "Jungkook, Tae?" She stopped, turning to him with a tired but brave smile. "Taeyoung, I'm okay, Kook. Just a little tired." Jungkook didn't buy it. His eyes dropped to her heels, then back to her face, his expression hardening with a mixture of annoyance and possessiveness. He knew she had pushed herself too hard just to keep up with his pace, and he hated seeing her in discomfort. "Jungkook, I told you we should have taken the car hours ago." Your shaking began to flicker to life along the narrow cobblestone path. Taeyoung's feet were screaming, but she was stubborn. She looked at the charming, rustic storefronts and the locals strolling by with baguettes tucked under their arms, and she refused to give up the magic of the moment. Moved to step in front of her, his arms ready to scoop her up. "Jungkook, that's enough, T. You're done. Get on." Taeyoung shook her head, taking a shaky step forward. "Taeyoung, no, Kook. I want to walk. I want to feel like I'm actually living here, not just watching it from a car window. I want to walk on this street." Jungkook tried to reach for her again, his expression darkening with that familiar, protective impatience. "Jungkook, your feet are killing you. Don't be difficult." "Taeyoung, I'm not being difficult. I'm being persistent. Just a few more blocks, please." Jungkook sighed, the sound echoing in the quiet lane. He looked at her. He finally relented with a sharp nod. He reached out, his hand open. Taeyoung didn't hesitate, handing him her leather handbag. She braced herself against his arm for balance, kicked off the high-heeled sandals, and let out a sigh so deep it was almost a moan of relief. The cool touch of the evening air against her skin felt like pure heaven. The sudden freedom made her giddy. She took a tentative step on the flat stone, then another. Before she couldn't help herself, she started to jump, dancing a little on the sidewalk, letting out a soft, delighted laugh. Jungkook stopped dead in his tracks, watching her. His initial frustration evaporated, replaced by a begrudging, genuine smile. He shook his head, a soft chuckle rumbling in his chest. He looked like the picture of elegance, his old money style contrasting sharply with the scene. He held her expensive handbag in one hand and her delicate dangling heels in the other, standing by while she celebrated like a child. "Jungkook, you're impossible," he muttered, though his tone was completely devoid of anger. He started walking again, his stride relaxed. He didn't rush her, he just walked beside her, his gaze lingering on her with a mix of fondness and that intense, possessive hunger that never quite went away. "Jungkook, keep that energy up, sweetheart. You'll need it when we get back to the suite." Taeyoung glanced at him, her smile faltering just a fraction at the reminder of carefree by his side as they made their way through the heart of Paris. The golden hue of the sunset had deepened into a rich, velvety twilight by the time they reached their hotel at 7 p.m. The transition from the buzzing, vibrant streets of Paris to the hushed, climate-controlled silence of their suite felt like stepping into another dimension. As the heavy door clicked shut behind them, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The suite was still bathed in the soft, ambient glow they had left earlier, but the air now felt charged with an electricity that had nothing to do with the city lights. Jungkook set her handbag down on the marble console near the entryway and placed her heels beside it, his movements slow and deliberate. He didn't turn to her immediately, his back to her as he loosened his silk tie, his posture radiating a calm, calculated authority. Taeyoung stood in the center of the plush rug, her feet feeling pampered and cool against the soft fibers. She watched him, the carefree joy of jumping on, the sidewalk fading into a lingering, nervous anticipation. She knew the day was over. The local experience had concluded, and now they were back in his domain. Jungkook turned slowly, his eyes dark and focused as they swept over her. He didn't move toward her yet, but his presence seemed to fill the room, tightening the space between them until it was almost suffocating. "Jungkook, you enjoyed your walk, didn't you, Tae?" His voice was a low, smooth drawl, lacking any of the warmth from the afternoon. He walked toward her, his footsteps silent on the carpet, stopping just close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his chest. "Jungkook, you were so stubborn about walking, so determined to have your way." He reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers tracing the line of her jaw with a touch that was gentle but firm, the kind of touch that reminded her she had nowhere to run. "Jungkook, I gave you your freedom today. I let you play, but now that we're back here, I think it's time we finally address that little matter from this morning and the accusations you threw at me back in Seoul." He leaned down, his lips grazing the shell of her ear, his voice dropping to a whisper that sent a jolt of pure tension through her. "Jungkook, you've been distracted all day, but I haven't forgotten a single thing. Are you ready to face the consequences, baby?" The air in the suite felt thick with the weight of his words, but Jungkook didn't move to press the issue just yet. Instead, he pulled back, his expression shifting into that unreadable, calm mask he wore when he was in full control. "Jungkook, go, get refreshed. We're both exhausted from the walking, and I want you comfortable for what comes next." His tone wasn't a suggestion, it was an instruction. Taeyoung nodded, her heart hammering against her ribs, and retreated to the marble-clad bathroom. She took a long, hot shower, the steam doing little to wash away the nervous tension coiling in her stomach. She swapped her day clothes for a set of soft silk loungewear, a loose-fitting set that felt far too vulnerable given the look in his eyes earlier. When she stepped back out into the bedroom, Jungkook was already waiting. He had shed his blazer and the turtleneck, now dressed in a crisp black silk robe that hung open just enough to show the solid, toned lines of his chest. He was sitting on the edge of the sprawling bed, his hair slightly damp from his own shower, his focus sharpening the moment he saw her. He gestured to the space on the bed beside him. "Jungkook, come here, TA." His voice was calm, almost soothing, but there was a sharp, underlying edge of finality to it. Taeyoung moved slowly, the plush carpet muffled under her bare feet. She sat down at a cautious distance, but before she could settle, Jungkook shifted, closing the gap until she was trapped between his legs. He didn't rush. He reached out, his hands finding her waist, his thumbs pressing into the soft skin there with a rhythmic, grounding pressure. He looked her over, his gaze tracing the way the silk fabric draped over her frame, his eyes darkening with a hunger that felt both dangerous and inevitable. "Jungkook, you look much better without all those layers," he murmured, his hands sliding up her back to pull her closer until their foreheads rested against each other. "Now tell me, sweetheart, do you know exactly why we're here, alone in this room?" Taeyoung swallowed hard, her breath catching as she met his steady, piercing gaze. The city of Paris was still shining outside the window, but here, inside the sanctuary of the suite, the only reality was the man holding her. "Taeyoung, because of the accusations," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Jungkook's grip tightened just a fraction, not enough to hurt, but enough to remind her that there was no escaping the truth now. "Jungkook, exactly. And since you were so certain I was the one who had been unfaithful, I think it's only fair that I show you very clearly exactly whose marks those were and exactly who you belong to." He leaned in, his lips brushing against hers, the kiss slow, deliberate, and entirely devoid of the gentleness from their morning. It was a kiss that tasted of Absolute possession, a silent promise that the punishment he had been waiting to deliver was finally about to begin. Jungkook's lips moved against hers with a deliberate, slow pace that was far more unnerving than a rush of passion would have been. He was forcing her to feel every second of his intent, every bit of the resolve he had been simmering in since that morning in Seoul. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were predatory, tracing the flushed skin of her face. He didn't let her move away. His hand shifted, one sliding firmly to the nape of her neck, his fingers tangling into her hair, while the other traced a slow, burning path down the center of her chest right over her heart. "Jungkook, you looked at me with such cold suspicion," he whispered, his voice vibrating against her lips. "You took the very marks you left on me, the marks of your own jealousy and your own hunger, and you threw them in my face like an insult. Do you have any idea how much that infuriated me, Tae?" Taeyoung couldn't look away. Her pulse was racing, her breath coming in shallow, ragged hitches. She felt small beneath him, yet entirely anchored by his touch. "Taeyoung, I was drunk, Kook. I didn't mean it." A dark, humorless chuckle vibrated in his chest. He leaned down, his teeth grazing the sensitive skin of her shoulder, a sharp sting that made her gasp. "Jungkook, being drunk is an excuse for bad judgment, not for betrayal of trust. You accused me of being with someone else while I was busy holding you, cleaning you, and waiting for you to come back to your senses." He pulled back, his eyes searching hers, demanding her absolute focus. He shifted his weight, his knee nudging between her legs, making it impossible for her to retreat even an inch further into the mattress. "Jungkook, I don't punish you because I'm angry, T. I punish you because you need to remember that you are the only one who has ever held me, the only one who has ever touched me, and the only one who has any right to leave a mark on me." He reached out, his thumb tracing the very spot on his own neck where the fading bruise remained, the one she had given him during that blur of a night in Seoul. He grabbed her hand, guiding it firmly to his skin, making her feel the texture of the mark. "Jungkook, feel it. That's yours. And tonight, I'm going to make sure you never, ever forget it." He didn't give her a chance to respond. He pressed her back against the pillows, his weight pinning her down, and lowered his head to her neck, his intentions clear. The punishment wasn't about pain. It was about reclaiming the space she had tried to distance herself from, marking her back, and ensuring that by the time he was finished, she wouldn't even remember the name of doubt. "Are you ready?" "Mm-hmm." Link in description. To be continued.